Hello, innovators, entrepreneurs, and risk takers. Welcome to another episode of Web3 with Sam Kamani podcast. And today I'm interviewing Cole from global.gold, where they are building something at the cross section of making gold more accessible to people, as well as bringing Web3 or the benefits of Web3 and decentralization to gold. So in this episode, we talk about everything that is going on in the gold markets and how they are appreciating in value, or what is happening in the world of Web3 when it comes to gold and inflation and all those sort of things. As always, nothing that we talk about here should be taken as investment advice, and please like, subscribe, share, and follow. And with all that out of the way, let's get into it. So Cole, welcome to the show. It is great to be hosting you, and it's an absolute pleasure talking with you. I'm sure this is going to be an amazing and awesome conversation. So my first question is, how did you get involved in all things crypto and blockchain and Web3?
Oh gosh, I started investing in crypto back in 2017, just played around trading and just getting my feet wet, and then started building in crypto in 2021. We ended up building the first decentralized affiliate marketing protocol, aggregating about 60 of the movers and shakers of the affiliate marketing industry onto a mentor board for the DAO at the time. And then did a handful of things in and around the space, nothing too crazy down. And gosh, a buddy of mine and I just kept going back and forth. He was the chief product officer and on the council of Clima when they hit $1 billion valuation within like 2 weeks. I think fastest growing company to hit $1 billion market cap. They ended up doing about $7 billion in carbon credit, on-chain carbon credit transactions within like 4 months. Ever since he left Clima, him and I had been going back and forth on what's the next major play in the RWA space. And one thing led to another, and back and forth, we finally landed on gold and just started getting all these downloads on how to decentralize the global gold industry. So that takes us to where we are now, but I'll pause there.
That's great. I was going to ask you around make money gold again or global.gold. Tell me a bit more about it and what problem are you solving with this project?
Yeah, absolutely. Where to start? McKinsey & Co. is expecting up to $200 billion worth of precious metals to be tokenized by 2030. We've got about $2 billion on chain as of today worth of gold, primarily held between two companies, Pax and Tether Gold. Pax Gold is vaulting out of and tokenizing British gold. Tether is vaulting out of and tokenizing Swiss gold. But you have to be a major company tokenizing U.S. gold to the same degree these guys are tokenizing European gold. And there's been seismic shifts in and around the entire gold industry over the last 6 months that have really put the U.S. at the front and center of the gold trade. For example, 85% of Swiss exports last quarter went into the U.S., along with every other major gold producing nation. I think record inflows, somewhere around $200 billion worth of gold was flown into the U.S. last quarter. And so now is the time for the U.S. to have a gold tokenization engine. With that, we're launching a slew of products over the next 6 months, starting with global gold bars, jurisdiction-specific gold-backed stablecoins. First being our flagship, which is the U.S. gold token. And so that'll come out in Q4. So will the first decentralized gold exchange that we're calling the Global Gold Exchange. So this will become the future liquidity hub for the future of the gold industry on chain. We see this as the aerodrome of gold. And so those are the two of the core products we're going to be rolling out over the next handful of months, along with what's being released over the next couple of weeks, actually, which is global gold vaults. And global gold vaults will be the most secure multi-sig wallet on chain. More to come on that here in the weeks ahead.
Fantastic. Yeah, just like I have so many questions. First of all, I feel like a lot of things are changing in US, and especially when it comes to crypto and blockchain, they are changing for better. And how you say that US is becoming a major buyer of gold, and like how 85% of the Swiss gold did go to US. Do you think like things such as tariff and those type of things would affect it, or not really?
I don't know. I think that lasted for 24 hours and they pulled that back real quick. So I don't see the U.S. tariffing gold at this point.
Yep, that's good to hear. I guess for the industry, the less sort of hurdles, the better. Why bring gold on chain now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you've already got Pax and Tether, but I don't think you've really seen gold enter the DeFi ecosystem. Basically, what we're building is an entire DeFi ecosystem specifically for gold. The idea really is to turn gold from a cost center where you're having to spend money on storage, insurance, and security,
Yes.
turn it to a revenue center where you actually put to work on chain to provide yield and put gold to work for you. And so that's our goal with the global gold ecosystem and the products that we're going to be rolling out over the next 12 months is to really put gold to work and turn gold into a massive revenue generated asset on chain.
Yeah. So does that mean like how currently stable coins have a treasury and they buy whether it's the US bonds or treasuries or other of products, they would be able to buy gold as well and have it part of their diversified portfolio? Or what other ways do you see it being used in the DeFi ecosystem?
Yeah, that's exactly right. As opposed to other tokens that are built as more of a credit system, where if you own one of their gold tokens, they owe you 1 ounce of gold. The way we're structuring this through the laws in Wyoming, and Wyoming is one of the only places that allows this, is that the token holders of the US gold token, for example, will be the legal owners of the gold. And so that's, I think, one thing that's really unique about what we're doing is that if you own a US gold token by Global Gold, then you're actually the legal owner of the gold in the vault. And that gold in the vault is non-hypothecated, unencumbered. It's there. There's no fractional reserve banking games with it. The gold is in the vault. So everything's fully allocated. We've got an allocation model that's going to be the industry standard and reallocates on a almost near real-time basis. And so every single gold token is mapped back to a specific gold bar with a specific serial number. And at any given time, you log into the system and connect your wallet and see which gold bars your tokens are associated with. And so, yeah, it's built with an extreme level of excellence that will be setting the standard for the entire industry as it relates to RWAs.
Yep. Absolutely. There are off-chain elements and there are on-chain elements, like the token lives on-chain, whereas the gold lives off-chain. How do you merge these two? Is there like an oracle or is there some other system? How does it all work?
Yep. So we're using two methods. You've got global gold proof of reserves, which is actually, again, everything we're doing is to the nth degree. So global gold proof of reserves is our internal proof of reserves protocol that's built into the system. But we're also using Chainlink proof of reserves because that's the industry used to right now. So we're using both those mechanisms in order to prove and show that the gold that we say is in the vault is actually in the vault. On top of that, we're partnering with the Wyoming Reserve. So the Wyoming Reserve is where the gold is held. Those assets within the Wyoming Reserve are audited 5 times a year by 2 major firms. They're also insured by the Lloyd's of London. And so, yeah, everything, like I said, is done with institutional standards. And that's probably another thing I should mention is we're really building this for the institutions and opening it up for everybody. And so the exchange, version 2.0 of the exchange will be an ISO 2002 compliant exchange that will allow the banks to play within the platform. The banks own a fifth of the world's gold. So to build this without them in mind is foolish, in my opinion. And so we'll roll out the V1, the Global Gold Exchange, through this quarter. Yeah. And then next quarter, we'll roll out the institutional side of the exchange.
Amazing. And how does the gold N or the token fit in the whole ecosystem?
What do you mean by that?
Like, is gold N, is that going to be the token? Is it going to be used for governance as well?
Yeah.
Or
yeah. So right now, golden is just the community token at this point. We have significant plans for that in the near future, but those are yet to be announced yet. As of now, it's just a fun community token that everyone can rally around and get excited about and build the community of gold on chain. And so that's the purpose currently.
Yeah, sorry, golden. It's a short form for the word golden. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, great play on the word. How do you see the whole, like, it fitting around DeFi? Because I feel like as soon as you move any asset on chain, then you unlock a lot of other possibilities, like such as lending, borrowing, lots of other things, as well as the ability to stake on liquid tokens. The possibilities are infinite as soon as you move money or any asset on chain. Would the same thing apply to global gold or golden or, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. With the gold-backed tokens, I think it changes the game once you're able to get gold within the DeFi ecosystem, because you've got historically one of the most trusted assets of human history now coming into the DeFi ecosystem. And what we're doing is building those technological rails for that to happen. So like I said, we've got the exchange coming up. We've got a lending protocol that'll likely be rolled out early next year specifically for gold-backed assets. But I think when you've got companies and protocol treasuries diversifying into T-bills and tokenized treasuries, there's no reason they shouldn't also be diversified into gold. So you've got Ray Dalio coming out last week saying 10 to 15% of your portfolio needs to be in gold. You got Morgan Stanley's chief investment officer coming out this week saying he believes 20% of the portfolio should be in gold at this point. Everybody is moving to gold to hedge against basically the debt money, right? And so to all these protocols out there that are holding and diversifying their treasuries into tokenized T-bills, there's no reason you shouldn't also be diversifying into tokenized gold.
Do you see or envision that some of the money that is going to Bitcoin, because the Bitcoin is on chain and gold has been harder for retail to buy, whereas Bitcoin is much easier. Do you see some of those funds going from instead of Bitcoin to gold, like people diversifying, especially if it's on chain?
I think so. I think especially in down cycles, I think historically what we've seen is when there's fair markets in crypto, everyone floods out of crypto into other assets. But what happens when some of those real world assets actually come on chain, you no longer have to leave the DeFi ecosystem. You just shift them over to those assets that are now here and available on chain. So I think you'll see significant shifts when you've got gold within that DeFi ecosystem. They'll change the way people act and operate within that ecosystem.
Absolutely. I can see that happening. And how will the global gold exchange and the lending work in practice?
Yeah. So essentially the V1 will be the standard A model. I think V2 and the institutional side will be an order book model. And then the lending still in process. I'll be able to share more details with that here if you want.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely will have to do this again in like 6 to 9 months when people, a lot more people are, or everyone is using it and how it is developing. And because I've always seen like once after startups launch, people use it in all sorts of creative ways and new use cases come out of it. You would know so much more about like the whole gold ecosystem that exists. What is it something that you know about gold and the whole gold ecosystem that most people don't realize?
I think most people don't realize that the demand for gold is going to continue to rise. As of July 1st of this year, Basel III went into effect in the US, which allows the banks to classify gold as a tier 1 asset equivalent to cash and bonds. Up until this point, the banks are required to hold a certain amount of their assets, percentage of their assets as reserves, right? Up until July 1st, the only assets they were allowed to hold were cash or bonds. As of July 1st, Basel III went into effect. Now they're allowed to hold gold as an equivalent asset, reserve asset. And so that's causing and has caused an increased demand in gold, core contributing factor, in my opinion, to the rise of the price of gold. And I don't think most people are aware of some of the things that are happening behind the scenes in the banking industry that are going to push gold to the forefront again. So I think you're going to see the price will just continue to climb over the next 10 years.
It's very interesting because I have the crypto native or blockchain native audience listening to this podcast, but then some boomers also listen to this because they're the parents of, because their kids are building and working in this space. So they want to learn and more about. So their first argument would be, why not just go to the gold shop or like buy and like from a jeweler or wherever and just buy the medallion or just buy the gold itself. Why go through this trouble of moving it on chain and buying through this way? Yeah. What would you say to them?
It's such a good question. Yeah. What we're developing is the best and most efficient way to own gold. So the leading structure that I mentioned earlier, you're able to go onto the app, basically acquire gold 24/7, 365. And then at 3 a.m., if you decide, hey, I want to sell my gold, you can roll over, sell your gold on your phone and go back to sleep without having to go down to the coin shop in your town and take a 4% hit for selling your gold, right? Gold is yours that you fully own. It's held in a class 3 vault that's also approved to hold central bank gold. So the security level on it is unmatched. And if you wanted to, you could always redeem it and get the gold and take it back to your house and put it in your basement if you want. But as opposed to having to hold the gold in your basement and then whenever you want to sell it, having to go, like I said, down to the local shop and take a massive hit on all you have to do is grab your phone and you have access to a liquid market 24/7.
Yeah, I think so too, that the access to a liquid market is a major plus. And I feel like once you have things on chain, you can do so many more things with it, which you would be able to in a thriving DeFi ecosystem that you just cannot.
And that's the other piece of it. Yeah, as opposed to just having to sit in your basement doing nothing, you could put it to work on chain, right? And so not only do you have the access to the liquid markets, but now you can maybe put it into a lending pool, right? Earn yield on it.
Exactly right.
Take it for liquidity on the exchange or whatnot. And so there just becomes a variety of ways that you could own gold and earn from that gold that you own.
Yep. Do you see a future where a lot of the things that are backed by, whether it's stable coins or whatever, they're backed by, instead of US treasuries, they would be backed by gold? Because I see gold as an appreciating asset, which has been for centuries. It has been an appreciating asset. Do you see that happening in future?
Yep. Our own tokens being a use case of that, but also in the roadmap as a product that's going to allow people to launch their own tokens that are backed by our infrastructure. So it's going to allow people to launch their own gold-backed tokens going forward. And the things I think people are going to be able to do with that are probably beyond what we can even imagine at this point. But yeah, that is coming. A variety of things are coming. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And what are you seeing currently working in the space of whether it's crypto, blockchain, Web3? What are some sort of trends or things you are seeing happening recently?
I think one of the things we've proved with the launch, we launched the golden token, ended up hitting a $30 million market cap on day one, and
Yes.
it proved our thesis of meme coins as a launch strategy or community tokens as a launch strategy. And so what we were able to accomplish with the launch of golden was exactly what we wanted to, which was massive attention out of the gate and a massive community build out of the gate. And so I think people underestimate meme coins. You've got, obviously this space understands it, and you've got tons of people investing and buying and playing meme coins. But I think what's missed is meme coins as a marketing channel. And so if you memify the brand and then launch the brand, all of a sudden what it did for us is within a week, we had 10,000 people within the community who are now passionate about gold and Web3 that we're able to launch the infrastructure, the gold infrastructure into here in a few weeks, right? And so that's vastly overlooked by even 90% of this industry is people are launching meme coins for the sake of launching meme coins, and I get the whole meme coin space tokens.
Yes.
But the other use case for meme coins is the idea of meme coins as a marketing channel. And I don't think too many people have tapped into that yet, because you can launch these projects and that token launch can act as a fundraising mechanism and a community build mechanism all in one.
Absolutely. But, where a lot of them, also what has happened in meme coins is because a lot of meme coins over the last 6-7 years, they promised the heavens and earth, and they delivered, then they didn't deliver anything. And it happened even in the Web3 gaming space, because they didn't realize how complex and intensive it is to build a AAA game. Everyone promised a AAA game. And it's like, if you could build a game with him, there are always exceptions and there's always like outliers. But in most cases, the reason why, whether it's Ubisoft or EA Games or any of them have like tens of thousands of employees, is because, and they take 10 years to build a game, is because it takes a long time to build a good game. Maybe now with AI and you can code a lot faster, you could build things a lot faster, could potentially do it. But 2017, 18, we didn't have that type of tech. And so it did take, and especially once you include things such as AR and VR and metaverse. And it's like, if Apple is struggling, if Meta is struggling, despite spending hundreds of billions, it is complex. It takes so much processing. And so, they all promise. And so now no one believes it. So now everyone's gone back to, okay, let it be meme coins just for the sake of it. But I completely see that a lot could be achieved on the DeFi side. You are not building a AAA. You don't need tens of thousands of NVIDIA GPUs and like tens of thousands of employees. So yeah, that's very true. It's such a good insight for any builder out there. What's on your roadmap over the next, say, 3 to 4 quarters?
Yeah, I think over the next quarter alone, we're looking to roll out global gold bolts here in a few weeks. That'll be the most secure multi-sig on chain, specifically built for RWA. We'll be rolling out the NFT collection here over the next 6 weeks, I believe. A lot of fun stuff coming with it that we'll be able to share closer to that. Global gold bars, which is our tokenization engine and jurisdiction-specific gold-backed stablecoins, is going to be rolled out in Q4. The global gold exchange, the first decentralized gold exchange, is also coming in Q4. Q1, we're looking at V2 of the exchange and the global gold lending, which will be the first decentralized lending protocol for gold assets. And then quite a bit of stuff the rest of the year that I'm not able to mention just yet, but there's a lot more coming.
That's awesome. When you look ahead and everything that you want to achieve and build over the next few quarters, what do you anticipate would be the key challenges you will face?
It's a great question. Regulatory is one thing we're looking at very closely right now to really get an understanding the regulatory environment around commodities and tokenized commodities and where we need to KYC, where we don't, especially as it relates to our ownership structure of the tokens. So regulatory environment being one, which isn't nearly as tough on commodities as it is on securities. So I'm not too worried about that. I think it's going to be finding the right people, honestly, finding the talent. So I think what we're set up for is a rapid acceleration of growth over the next 12 months.
Yes.
It's going to be a game of talent acquisition, really pulling in the best players from the industry to be able to jump on the team and start running with us.
Yes.
I see the team growing significantly over the next year.
Yeah, I can see that too. And like crypto is the best place to be building. I do feel like some of the AI projects have been overblown and overinvested and overhyped. And now people are realizing that even in AI and that some of the valuations have been overblown, especially with the cross section of AI and crypto and the whole AI agent space that people are realizing, oh, it's just a workflow. So it's just a set of commands or any pretty much what we used to call bots or algorithms, and now people are just calling it agents and raising 300 million for that.
That is so well said. That's the truth.
Yeah. So I do think that there is still a lot of opportunity in crypto with everything that's going on and that's happening. I have a question around like how Wyoming has been at the forefront of introducing some of this new regulation and adopting some of these things. I've even had a chat with the senator of Wyoming some time ago, like a year or two ago, a couple of years ago on everything they're planning. But a lot of the things we could never release because of the confidentiality of the things and how everything in US is like so political and across the aisles. So yeah, that conversation I never published. But yeah, do you see the same thing happening or more states in US adopting some of these policies and more of these sort of things being set up in other states as well?
To be honest, I've not been watching that aspect of it that closely. We've really just been focused on Wyoming. Once we understood what we're able to do there and what was possible with the legal structures in Wyoming, we really just drilled down on that. So yeah, honestly, I'm probably not the best guy to ask on that. I'm not followed it too closely.
Are you guys planning to raise capital through like a venture model or just continue with the token launch and that side of things?
Yeah, we've raised about $1 million so far in the pre-seed round. We're gearing up for a much larger seed round over the weeks that we'll probably get that kicked off on.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's going.
That's great. We'll definitely keep an eye on that side and we'll have to do an interview after once we have done that and how you achieve, because there is a lot of founders who listen to this and they would love your insights on that as well. Where do you see tokenized gold adoption by 2030 in the next 5 years or so?
Well, I think what I mentioned at the beginning is that McKinsey and Co. has probably done a lot more research on it than I have. Is expecting up to $200 billion worth of precious metals to be tokenized by 2030. And so I think the golden community is going to be a big part of that push over the next 4 years. We've got a lot of phenomenal people that have jumped into the gold. They're passionate about gold and also are extremely involved at high level in Web3. So we've got a lot of people who want to see this happen and who want to see gold enter the DeFi ecosystem. So I think once we get the rails and the infrastructure in place, I think you're going to see the gold start flowing in at a pretty rapid rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think this will flow on to other metals as well, other precious metals and rare earth metals and all those type of things as well?
Yep. So we're going to copy and paste this for silver, platinum, palladium, et cetera.
Yes.
Gold's just the first.
Amazing, amazing. That's great to see your vision and see how big this can be.
Well, it can be if you look at the size of it. So let's take the COMEX, for example, right? So the COMEX is a multi-billion-dollar exchange, the primary commodities exchange in the U.S. But the COMEX is limited to the assets that are in its vaults in New York. So if we agree that crypto or DeFi is the future of the financial system, then there's going to be a core commodities exchange on chain, right? What happens when you're no longer limited geographically to the assets in a specific location, but you're able to tokenize assets from around the world and put those assets on a single exchange? The size of it is significant. And that's what we're building towards.
Yeah, I can see that how big this can get over the next few years. And in order to achieve this amazing, huge vision, Do you have a ask? What's the number one thing you're looking for? Partnerships? Would it be your seed round? Would it be talent? Would it be anything else? Feel free to share.
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. Great capital partners, good integration partners, L1s, L2s, protocols who want to integrate gold into their ecosystem and have better collateral on chain and give their ecosystem access to real world assets like gold. So yeah, I'd say all the above.
Oh, definitely. I can see like so many use cases for this. And it's like even for so many of the L1s and L2s and other larger protocols and projects, they have a treasury, and there is no reason why they should not be able to diversify some of their treasury into gold, especially when it's on chain. It just makes so much sense. It make it so much easier. I do see a lot of potential there. But as always, it is not an investment advice. This is just a conversation around where your project is going and how I see individually as like personally where things are going. You know what I'll do is I'll put links to everything that you guys are doing in the show notes, description, comments on all the 15 plus different platforms and different formats it's going to go out on. And just want to wish you best of luck, Cole, for everything that you're building.
Thanks so much, Sam. So good to be on with you.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening or watching this episode of the Web3 with Sam Kamani podcast. By now, you know the drill. Leave a comment or share this episode with a friend and leave a review. I would love to hear from you. So that's why my DMs are open. Reach out to me, especially if you are a founder building a product in Web3. Then I would love to hear from you. What are your challenges? Is there anything that I can help you or my community can help you with? Thank you once again and wish you best of luck in building your startup or your project.